The second lie you address is a big one, I think, in our culture, and we've kind of already talked about it. You mentioned it at the top. It's the lie of the synthetic god of self. So unpack this one for us.
Yeah, I mean the thing that really jumps out to me is so one of the books that I read early on after I gave my life to Christ that really gave language to some of the theological concepts that I was trying to understand and then also communicate was Killing Kryptonite.
Mm.
And the way that John Bevere talked about what happened in Exodus 32, where we see that Moses is, going up to get the 10 Commandments, and then Aaron and this tribe that have been through, all this stuff, they're waiting there, they've been delivered, and what do? They take all their jewelry and they build this like golden animal, this golden calf, and it's like what's crazy about it, and what I really wanted to like lean into in that is they called that idol Yahweh.
Mm.
And how many times in our life, if we say we worship Jesus, but we omit the things where we want to compromise in our life, and we say, well, I'm going to surrender most of my life to Jesus, but there's these certain aspects that either I don't want to surrender, or I feel like he doesn't have any say or doesn't have to have any say in this aspect of my life. Well, you've actually have become your own God.
Yeah.
You're saying that you know best, and you've created this God of self. And I think, again, like back to the garden, being deceived because, it all goes back to, did God really say
Right.
that you couldn't eat the fruit?
Yep.
And if we question God, what we end up doing is thinking that we know better than God, and that's always going to lead to destruction.
Yeah, absolutely. I to me, what comes up with this lie is it's a sense of control. Because if I create a God in myself, or I have created this idol, which then is this thing I worship or, sacrifice to or whatever, it's something I can control because I can't control God, And so for me to have trust and faith in the Lord, it's a complete release of control. It is a complete submission where if I'm creating an idol of pornography or maybe it's alcohol or relationships or whatever, man, I can control or have some semblance of control over those things. So that's what resonates with me in that one.
Yeah, and it's and what I would say to so many people, a lot of leaders, a lot of really great leaders that I respect. I find myself challenging because not everyone, but
Yeah.
there's been several times over the last decade where I found myself in rooms with people that I love and respect, and I love that I gained the relational equity where I can say these things with confidence and but in grace. People will say, well, I there's this area of my life that I compromise, but I can control the level in which I compromise, so
Mm,
it's not that big of a deal.
yeah,
And it's like, man, what's true is compromise in one area of your life will always lead to compromise in every area
that's
of your
good.
life.
That's good.
And man, like the pathway to whatever it is, anything that's good, is always going to be surrender and submission. And it's not partial submission,
Yeah.
it's not partial surrender. And it's like we want so desperately to hold on to that portion of ourselves that we used to be.
Yep.
And it's actually because we find comfort in chaos, because if we've been in chaos for so long
Right.
that it's all that we know.
Yep. It's equilibrium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, like, like literally it's like cognitively, I've become so familiar with
Mhm.
these patterns that even though I found destruction in some aspects of my life and
Right.
some time periods of my life, I feel like if I can just hold on to this little thing, I'll do all of this, God, but don't ask me to do
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
you know? And it all goes back to, it's like, gosh, to find the deepest intimacy with God, to find that another level of consecration, to find that another level of holiness,
Hmm.
to eradicate that thing in your life that you feel like you just can't overcome. It's gonna cause you to surrender
Yeah.
to another level that maybe you've never surrendered before. And it's like, maybe, it's like, well, there's arguments out there where like, like you can curse to a certain extent, but like that doesn't impact, my faith walk in this area. I can get drunk sometimes and it's not that big of a deal,
Yeah.
and so on and so on. Whatever, your sin of choice might be.
Yeah.
But I think there's so many people that's like, well, I can do this. Me personally,
Mm.
I can do this. It's my personal conviction.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
your conviction's different than others.
Totally.
Uh, it's like my personal conviction is this and that, and it's like, man, you're trying to be God,
Mm. It's good.
and it's like, gosh, if you like the thing that you're struggling with, what it's going to cost you
Yeah.
is to die to yourself.
Right. Yeah.
That and that's really what the capture tries to
Yeah.
encompass.